everyone, Setsuko here. I'm MOBA Division Director for Grievance, and I'm here today to bring you a Smite God Guide for Chaac. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at Chaac's skills and his synergies, take a look at what kind of stats you should get when you're buying items for him. However, we will not be covering specific item builds, as those are based on so many different factors that they can change all the time depending on what game mode you're playing or how you want to play that character. So what we're going to do is we're going to jump into the practice jungle, choose Chaac, and we're going to take an in-depth look at his skills.
Chaac.
Alright, so we're going to get enough levels just to have access to everything.
They shall know our feast. Minions have spawned.
Okay. Access to all the different skills. I'm going to go ahead and grab some items.
Protection, huh?
Okay. So, start off. Anytime you're going to try to learn how to play a god, you want to make sure that you open up the skills window and you take a really good look at everything in it, not just the abilities, so make sure you check out the passive and the effects of their basic attack. So, Chaac's passive is called Overflow, and after 5 successful basic attacks, the next ability he uses will cost no mana. So we're going to go and take a look at that. Go over here to the minion camp, and you will see right here in this area we have the statue with the little circles in it, and those are going to light up as we perform successful basic attacks. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you'll see that we can use an ability, and it costs no mana. Okay. Now, it's a passive ability that only affects him. Taking a look at his basic attack, it is based on his physical power, and it does have a progression where it does 100% damage, 50% damage, and then 150% damage. So keep in mind when you're playing Chaac that when you first start auto-attacking, you're going to have your first attack is going to be normal damage, followed by a decrease in damage, followed by a significant increase. So your third hit is always going to be the strongest hit. So, moving on to his abilities, his number 1 ability is called Thunder Strike, and this is a ground targeted ability, which means that when you are activating it, you target the ground as opposed to an enemy, and you can kind of move it around wherever you want to target it. It affects enemies, is a physical damage ability, and has a radius of 30, which is quite high. So it says that he throws his axe forward, damaging all enemies in a radius around its landing location. The axe remains idle in the ground for 5 seconds or until another ability is used. So this ability, you basically just chuck your axe over, it does damage, and then it stays there. Doesn't do anything while it's there, it just stays there. So for each point that you put into Thunder Strike, you're going to increase the damage and the cost. However, the cooldown will remain the same, so if you want more damage out of your Thunder Strike, then obviously you're going to want to level it up. His second ability is called Torrent. This is an AoE ability and a leap. So AoE, meaning that the area around you is affected. Now we can't actually move the targeting on this, it's always an area of effect around us. And it also is a leap because of a synergy that we're going to get to in just a minute. It's physical damage and has a radius of 20. So he spins his axe around him, damaging all enemies, and gains protection for each enemy hit, up to a maximum of 5. So, here we go, spin around, we do some damage, and we gain some protections. As you can see, we had a little buff pop up here that said 3, telling us we had gained 3 stacks of that protection because we hit 3 enemies. Now, the second part of this ability is if his axe is out from Thunder Strike, his 1 ability, He will first leap to the axe location, doing 50% base damage to enemies he passes through, and then executing his spin attack. So, if we move to the next camp over here, you can see that we can throw out our axe, and then push 2. I did a little bit too soon there, sorry about that. Go to a different camp and try it. So you have to make sure that your axe is actually in the ground. That was a mistake I just made. So we check the axe, it's in the ground, we dash over and do our spin attack. So and that is why it's listed as a leap. Each point that you put into Torrent will increase the damage dealt, the protections gained, and the mana cost. However, the protection duration and the cooldown stay the same. So if you want more damage, more protections, put more points into Torrent. His Torrent. Sorry. His third ability is called Rain Dance. This is an aura, which means it's a effect that follows him around. It affects enemies and himself and has a radius of 20. It says that Chaac summons a rainstorm around his current location for 6 seconds. While it rains, he regains health, and enemies are caught in the mud and slowed. So, you can see here, this is an aura that follows me around. It's going to give me health back, and it's going to slow down enemies. Now, there's a second part to this ability, which is that if the axe is out from Thunderstrike, a rainstorm will also spawn at that location. So what this does is you throw out your axe, and now you can spawn basically an area of effect slow there, as well as a heal for yourself. So some synergy there as well. For each point that you put into Rain Dance, you're going to increase the percentage slow and increase the healing that you regain, as well as increase the cost. The cooldown remains the same. So Rain Dance, you want to increase the slow, you want to increase the heal, you put more points into it. And then his ultimate ability is called Storm Call. This is a ground targeted ability, again. So you're not targeting a specific enemy. It affects enemies as physical damage and has a radius of 35, which is absolutely huge. And it says that Chaac charges his lightning axe and unleashes a blast, silencing and damaging all enemies around him. While in the air, Chaac has 50% damage mitigation and is immune to CC effects. Alright, so if we use this ability, one, we can't be CC'd, so it's great to use if you're trying to chase someone and don't want to worry about getting slowed or stunned or anything like that. You can also use it if you're trying to get away, although, that's a big cooldown to use for getting away. There's a second part. If Stormcall is triggered within range of Chaac's axe from Thunderstrike, Stormcall will supercharge, dealing additional damage and also knocking up enemies. So, we'll take a look. This is the normal one. Here, jump in the air. Now, while you're in the air, you can continue to move, which I'll show that to you after we show off the effect with the Thundercall axe. Alright, for each point that you put into Stormcall, you're going to increase the damage and the additional damage caused if it's supercharged, as well as the mana cost. The silence duration and the cooldown remain the same. This is your ultimate ability, so you're obviously going to want to put as many points into it as you can whenever you can. We've got a couple seconds left here on the cooldown, so we're actually going to talk about some of the ways to play Chaac and how his abilities synergize in the meantime. So obviously he has a lot of synergy to begin with his Thunderstrike. Being able to dash to his axe with Torrent, being able to spawn a second thunderstorm or rainstorm at his axe with Rain Dance, and getting the additional supercharge on his Stormcall from his axe. So you can see that his axe plays a really, really big role. Alright, so we're going to check the axe, then we're going to supercharge, and you can see that knock up and additional damage that got dealt. So, at the minimum, you're going to want to have 1 point in Thunderstrike, just so that you can utilize that axe with all these other abilities. Now, the duration of the axe doesn't change based on how many points are in, only the damage that it does. So you can put 1 point into Thunderstrike, and then you have the axe there for the 5 seconds, and you can use it with all your other abilities. Your Torrent, depending on how you want to play with your Torrent, you can put, if you just put a single point into Torrent, then you're able to use it as sort of an escape. It's not a very fast escape. So, for example, let's say that I am running from an enemy. I'm going to throw out my axe, and then I'm going to try to dash to it as fast as I can. So you'll see that I throw out my axe, and by the time I can dash to it, I'm practically on top of it. So it is really, it's not a good escape if you're already running. If you are not planning on running, like let's say that we're fighting these guys here, and we just want to, get some damage in, we can throw our axe back there, fight these guys, and then dash away. That's a much better way to use the combination as an escape, because, like I said, if you were trying to use it as I'm already running from the enemy and I'm trying to dash, you're pretty much on top of it by the time you're able to dash to it. With the Rainstorm, I find that a lot of times having the Axe Rain Dance combo, I don't find that I use that very often because yes, you get a second area of effect slow, but I mean, unless you're gonna chuck your axe behind the enemy and try to get them in a pincher rainstorm where there's one in the front, one in the back. Generally, it's the same kind of idea as with the dash. You're gonna chuck your rainstorm out, you're gonna press or chuck your axe out and press for rainstorm, and by the time you get to it, you're practically already caught up for it. So once again, his axe just isn't used in a very it's not used very good as a chase or an escape mechanism. You can, however, throw out your axe and then get your 2 rainstorms up, and now you kind of have a pincer where you can close the enemy in between 2 slows. And I'm not sure if the healing stacks from both of them, so I'm going to try to find out real quick. Let's say I throw this out. Just going to let them do some damage. Okay, so we're going to run out of mana, apparently. Okay. Oh, I messed up. Sorry about that. Didn't notice I was out of mana. Okay. And that's where using his passive comes into play, since he can basically cast abilities for free. Okay, so here we go. Let's try this again. I'm actually going to attack the Gold Fury, because she will do more significant damage to me a lot quicker. So, alright. So we're going to throw out our axe, and then we're going to rainstorm and see if we get double the healing. The axe, rainstorm, we're getting 47 heals or so. Alright, let's run away. We're going to see just what kind of heals we get with just rainstorm. It looks like we did get double the heals, so... Nope, we didn't. Okay, so, like I said, that just further emphasizes the fact that, like I said, I don't tend to use the Axe Rainstorm combo, or Rain Dance combo, Thunderstrike Rain Dance combo a lot. It is there, I think, probably most useful as a pincer type situation, or maybe if you're trying to help your team poke the enemy and you just want to provide some slow, so maybe your team has a better opportunity to catch up, but it's not going to help you catch up all that much normally if you're already running. And then Stormcall obviously has a lot of awesome effects with the silence, the damage that you do, and if you can combo it with the axe, then you get that supercharged knockup. You can move, you're immune to CC, silence. You know, it's just a lot of good stuff with Stormcall. And Chaac, I've found, is a very, very durable, sustainable character to play as for many, many reasons. One, he already has the health regen built into his rain dance, so you know you've got some healing right there. It's only for yourself, so you can't really help out your team, but you've got healing there. In addition to that, with your passive, 5 successful basic attacks allows you to cast any ability for no mana. So even if you're out of mana, a lot of times you can stay in the game just by getting your basic attacks in, and boom, now you can cast an ability for free. And just in general, if you're attacking and casting abilities, you're naturally sort of conserving mana to begin with. So it's really, really easy to stay in lane for stupid amounts of times as Chaac. Now, generally with Chaac, as far as his stats go, because he's a warrior, you can build him a couple ways. You could build him with a sort of tanky focus where you go for different kinds of defense and health regen and stuff like that. And this is even more emphasized by his rain dance and his overfill passive that lets him stay in the lane. However, he doesn't have like a lot of stuns and things like that. He has some slows, and he has the potential knock-up and silence from Stormcall, so he isn't able to kind of work as a guardian warrior in the CC capacity, but he can be really, really tanky and good at recovery, so he's good to tank a tower if you're trying to take a tower down and things like that. You can also build him out for straight damage and, you know, focus on Thunderstrike and Torrent and do some stuff like that. He's a character that I really, really enjoy playing as in Assault, and yeah, I hope that this guide, you know, helps you learn how to play him better or just enjoy playing him more. And if, like I said before, you want a specific item build, I can point you in the direction of some good resources online. And you know, if you want more specific help, I could even help talk you through an item build if necessary. So this has been the Smite God Guide for Chaac. I'm Setsuko, and I will catch you on the next guide.